man is not supposed to accept. He's supposed to roll up his sleeves and go out and make a considerable amount of excitement, whether it means anything or not. Actually, however, by acceptance, we do not mean to sit back and do nothing. What we really mean is that by acceptance, we acknowledge facts and work from those rather than from prejudices. We have to have some kind of a basic acceptance of value. We have to say to ourselves, either this world in which we live is meaningful or it is not. Either the universe is honest or it is not. Either there is a basic integrity at the root of life or there is not. We cannot carry water on both shoulders in these matters. We cannot affirm one thing one day and deny it the next. We must either believe that this universe is a planned thing, and that behind it is a creating intelligence and consciousness able to administer and administering this vast unfoldment according to lawful means, or there is not any of these factors, and man is simply a creature of accident, circumstance, and incident. If we take the second position, then we must live by that, which means that we must live with total purposelessness, because then nothing is important. And nothing is less important in a meaningless universe than our own rebellion, so that there is no reason why even the purposeless viewpoint should result in pressure. If nothing means anything anyway, why should we spend all of our time being angry about something, pleased about something else, and miserable in anticipation of a third thing? If nothing is important, then life becomes something so completely ludicrous, ridiculous, that there is no sense in any sense whatever. If, on the other hand, there is a purposed existence, then we must begin to accept certain moral values. We must affirm or assume that this world is an unfolding sphere, and that within this unfolding sphere, man is precariously suspended, largely problemed and burdened by his own inability to understand the greater values of the world, his inability to grasp the total picture of his own existence, and thereby unable to know with certainty the courses of action which he should pursue, is therefore under the pressure of a continuous doubt, a lack of available certainty. Lacking available certainty, he turns to the inner part of his own life, supporting it, sustaining it, and enriching it to the greatest degree possible by recourse to and reference to the great achievements of other times and other ages. He uses the great philosophies and religions of life as guides and aids to understanding. He seeks to know better and to live according to the teachings of Buddha or Jesus or Confucius or Lao Tzu, because he believes these persons have lived well. He tries to draw upon the spiritual experience of his race for courage, conviction, for understanding, and for sustaining faith. And gradually, out of his conviction, he integrates a constructive attitude, which he must then put to work, proving or disproving it. It's interesting, perhaps, to realize that there is a reason why certain great systems of thinking have lived. They have not lived because the Creator was proud of them, that is, the human Creator. These systems have not survived because of the mere pressure of personality. They have survived only for one reason, that in common experience they have proven true. That individuals have found in these teachings, religious, philosophical, principles which when applied are ever true, which when lived produce results which are commendable, constructive, and secure. That these teachings are better than the absence of them. That they have given us a stronger personal way of life, a way of life more likely to produce happiness than a way without these teachings at this level of understanding. Thus, humanity has created its own saints by recognizing and rewarding those whose ideas have become an imperishable part of human good. And in this way, we begin to sense that man is forever experimenting with value. All of these great teachers have united in certain positive concepts. They have pointed out the importance of a dynamic faith. They have recognized the tremendous importance of a non-aggressive attitude toward life, a completely different perspective from ours. We live in an economic and political world continuously aggressive, and yet we live with religions, churches on every street corner practically. 2/3 of our population nominally religious. We live in a tremendous religious atmosphere of renunciation, of unselfishness, of impersonality, of the acceptance of evil but not the doing of it, and of the tremendous importance of returning good for evil. These things we affirm. We believe, but we cannot operate them in our daily life because they run headlong into the small personal prejudices which are more important to us than principles. Yet therapy lies directly in this level. No one wants to be sick. Very few people can afford to be sick under the existing conditions. And socialized medicine is no solution in the sense that it will not give back to the individual his proper energies, even if it helps him to pay the bill for his mistakes. In the sense of paying the bill, it does help, but it does not solve the problem. The problem lies not in getting well, but in staying well in the first place. And these great philosophies that we have known, as Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, Muslimism, Taoism, Confucianism, Hinduism, these great philosophies have been in common agreement. And millions of human beings, hundreds of millions, living under them for the last 2,500 years, have discovered as factual experience within themselves when they have been able to be big enough and strong enough to live these principles, that in the recognition of a non-combative, non-competitive code lies the health and security of the people. That we are not ever going to attain peace, happiness, serenity, or security by a constant psychic pressure, by constant irritation and agitation. We're going to find the solution to our problems in the integration of our own resources. Assuming for a moment that we will acknowledge with Western man, even though Eastern man is not entirely of the same opinion, that there are many problems that can be solved with good thinking, that real thoughtfulness and real regard, friendship, thoughtfulness, and affection, simple, direct, sincere, these will solve many problems. But how are we going to have any of these qualities, simple and sincere, while we remain totally complicated, the victims of pressures from within our own psychic natures, eternally destructive of simplicity and sincerity and affection and regard? How are we going to dislike people often enough and long enough to attain this serenity we talk about? How are we going to complain our way into peace of mind? Or how are we going to scandalize our way into security? We cannot. And to achieve our ends, we have to begin to reintegrate our own basic standard of values. Before we can permit any positive value to grow, we must, to a measure at least, escape from the pressure of negative value. If we are going to have a beautiful garden, we must first clear the land. For if we leave all the weeds and the stumps there, our flowers will not grow well. And after we've planted the garden, if we wish it to become a beautiful garden, we must take care of it. We must see that the plants receive nourishment and water, and that they are planted according to their own natures, some in the sun and some in the shade, so that each is given the opportunity to be itself. If we do not use this care and this thoughtfulness, we have no right to resent the universe if our garden does not grow well. And in our own thinking, in our own living, before we can create a constructive philosophy of life, we've got to get the weeds out of our own consciousness. And these weeds are hate and fear and doubt and jealousy, suspicion, egotism, over-possessiveness, over-ambition, envy, and such attitudes as must always reap a whirlwind. All of these actions and attitudes must end in trouble. If we want to be out of trouble, therefore, we must prevent the continuance of these attitudes. Now, we can't just simply say to ourselves, let's stop being jealous. Unfortunately, we have nursed these negatives so long that we can no longer control them. They control us. We are the victim of habits. And these habits are those of negation. The only way we can escape from these habits is to understand through them by giving ourselves a point of view or a perspective acceptable to ourselves. We must sell ourselves something better in order to unsell ourselves about something worse. Our new attitude must arise because we have a new and better conviction about value. The moment the conviction is established, that which is inconsistent with it falls away. The only reason we're in trouble is because our conviction is on a level which causes trouble. When this center of conviction changes to another and better level, the trouble falls away. We cannot escape jealousy and fear and all these pressures simply by denying them, or by attempting to frustrate them violently in our own natures. But we can gradually become educated. We can gradually find out what true learning means, and that learning is really helping to build higher levels of conviction, giving us better instruments with which to estimate values, giving us stronger inducements to seize and think straight, and through the straightening out of our own crooked thoughts, relieving ourselves of the pressure of convictions that are essentially wrong. Thus, by degrees, we can create a new level of action. And this new level of action must precede any change in our living. As long as we remain the same, our condition will remain the same. No individual, simply by wishing without doing, will change the pattern of his life. If, then, we wish to get a truly secure position, we have several possibilities. We all know, for example, the peculiar effect of intelligence upon audacity. It has been observed and noted for a long time that to get a person who is really a man of action, you've got to get a stupid one. Well, you want to get a real world conqueror, like Adolf Hitler. You must get a little man who has never left home. You must get an individual with a closed mind and a comparative lack of capacity to think. The moment the individual begins to think serious